visit some brother out on my call. This is the moment you're meant to know.
Well, hello there, sunflowers, and how are you guys today? Well, I guess you can call this video like a one of two or two of one parter because it's a mixed mash. Joe Jonas or the Jonas Brothers and Camila Cabello. So they go hand in hand. And why do they go hand in hand? Because Fifth Harmony just recently performed on the Joe Jonas on the Jonas Brothers. I guess I'll start with Joe Jonas first then. Was recently on the Jonas Brothers tour, and because of that, that's why I want to do a reading on Camilla. Also, somebody suggested a reading on Camila Cabello and Shawn Mendes, which is kind of the same thing going on here with Joe Jonas and Sophia Turner. Both people are no longer in a relationship with each other and both seem to have moved on or moving on. Yet fans still curious about them, wants to know what's going on with them. So I'll do that with Camila Cabello mostly, and kind of Shawn Mendes because he kind of goes in there. He really isn't much in the news of yet. So put that on the back burner. So here we are for Joe Jonas and Sophia Turner. Now, a while ago, I was going to do a reading on the Jonas Brothers and the fact that they're on tour because it just seems like a trip down memory lane. And of course, it's Jonas 20 to celebrate their 20th anniversary of being a band. First off, congratulations, because that's nearly as old as I am. Actually, I'm older than the Jonas Brothers in the sense of how long that they've been together. But still, 2 decades, crazy. I can't believe it. I literally cannot. I cannot believe it. It's amazing. But all that to be said about the Jonas Brothers, they have it seems like their tours, I'm getting like a bunch of their videos popping up on my TikTok. So it seems like their tour is amazing. They've had Demi Lovato on there. They've had a bunch of other artists on there, like well, his last name was Lewis. I'm not familiar with all these artists that they had on tour with them, but the two in particular that stood out to me, I mentioned Demi Lovato, but was Fifth Harmony, and that was because Camila Cabello wasn't there, and because of that, that sparked some rumors. But just the fact that they had Demi Lovato and the Fifth Harmony. So not only is this the 20 years of the Jonas Brothers, but this is also 20 years of decades of music that influenced us and the Jonas Brothers, and that will bring back nostalgic memories for us. So it's like nostalgia, but like nostalgia for people that love the Jonas Brothers, you know, kind of like what Miley Cyrus is doing, getting ready to do for Miley with her Hannah Montana tour. So yes, guys, please bring back the memories. I'm saying this again. I don't know if we're like in some weird time warp because I don't know why we are going retro. Like we're back in the Y2K and we're going into the 90s and the 80s. Yet we're still moving forward in our physical reality. So please tell me. And people are really talking about how time is slowing up, speeding down. So like I'm really questioning time and what kind of era we are in, but I'm loving it anyway because it's nostalgic for me. So all that to be said, now that I have talked about the Jonas Brothers and their tour and how it just looks like it's great, I fangirled about it from just what I've been seeing on the TikTok and just looking at the list of artists that they've had as special guests along the way. It's just amazing. So that makes me wonder, Joe Jonas seems like he is way too busy to not even be thinking about Sophia. And Sophia apparently is in a on again, off again relationship with a guy that she had met right out after getting divorced. So I don't know. That was quite interesting. So I'm going to dive deep into that. But because they're not together, I'm just going to read them as like two separate people to see what's going on with their lives. because Joe Jonas is all about his tour right now, and it seems like Sophia is about her acting or her love life at this moment. So because of that, let's just pull some cards. They are in two separate headspheres, two different areas of their lives, but they all could be using that as a form of distraction to forget about the fact that they recently got a divorce towards the end or middle of 2024. So let's just pull some actually, you know what, because I'm doing this, let me just real quick, I'm going to pick the main male, put Joe Jonas right here, and then the main female, which is Sophia, put that right there. Okay, literally just placeholders. And also I'm chill, you guys. Okay, so this side represents Sophia. Let me just push this computer over some more. Side represents Sophia, and this side represents Joe Jonas. So let's just see what's going on with them. I'm going to pick one card for each of them in each spot, so that way it is even. Therefore, the cards fall where they may, where they should fall. Just like my cardigan is falling off my shoulders as I speak. Okay. So, starting with Sophia, the card that represents her is the Ten of Wands, and the card that represents Joe Jonas is the Star card. Okay. Very fitting. I could see that. Now let's see what's in their foundations. Okay, she has the High Priestess. Interesting. He is the Knight of Swords. In their past, the 10 of Swords and the 3 of Swords. How fitting. Okay. Above the... Geez, Sophia. Oh, my. Okay. And in their futures... Well, honestly, I'm going to say Sophia has it way off harder than Joe Jonas at this very moment. And I'm not sure if that's just because she is out there dating. Okay, this symbolically, right? So I see here what Sophia is, and I don't want to say darkness, but just weighed down by the divorce. Like, even though she's trying to move on, even though it's been a year since they've been divorced, and she has, I took a picture of this guy's name. I'm sorry. I'm terrible with names, especially names that are foreign to me. But his name was, you know what? This name actually does look for me familiar. Perigan Pearson. Okay, so that was the they said that they had first hit it off shortly after she had divorced Joe Jonas. Well, let me rephrase that. Shortly after Joe Jonas divorced her, which I wonder why, but I digress. I'm getting ahead of myself. But Joe Jonas allegedly had divorced Sophia, and shortly after that, she was on this dating website named Raya. You know the story. Broke up with and on this dating website named Raya, and allegedly she's bringing this web page back up, or she's recently just deactivated it. So that's why fans are speculating if they've just recently gotten back together or just recently broken up. So because of that, what I see here, that was in 2020, 2023, 2024. Well, the divorce was finalized in 2024, but they said that they started dating in 2023. So initially when it was divorced, during that divorcee process. And maybe at that time he was just like, hey, you know, I get it. You're going through a divorce. It's maybe not the time. We'll try again later when you're ready. Fair enough. Fair enough. That's what they could have done, and then realized, hey, it's not really working. Let's break up. But all I see here is in her past is that I definitely see for both of them, she's the 10 of Swords and Joe Jonas is the 3 of Swords. They're both swords, so therefore it both mentally took them out. for Sophia, it really took her out physically. Like it took the umph and drive out of her. So I know that's weird to say when she really got back into a relationship after that, but just the fact that just the idea of trying to move on, even though they were married for 4 years. 4 years is a long time, and they had two children together. So just think about that. All that family unit is coming together. All that work that you've done, the love that you put into this relationship, it just didn't work. And especially they had dated for, I'll say, maybe 2, 3 years before they had even gotten married. So because of that, they have known each other for quite a while. So for their life to dissipate like it has to weigh mentally. It has to weigh a lot on her. But for Joe Jonas, it like pierced him in the heart. It just hurt him emotionally. Um, it was like everything it was like the dreams that he had was like crushed. But he still felt like he had to move on. He had to bandage up his heart. And he was like, even though it hurts, I got to keep going on. I got to keep moving on. I got my brothers with me, literally. Hey, let's go on a tour. So he's doing all this to keep himself preoccupied so he doesn't have to feel it, while Sophia just chose to go through it, kind of like if you can't get over, get under kind of situation, rumors allegedly, and that weighed down even more on her. But I see here in this present moment, she she's still in the tens. She has not moved on. Now, she may not be a 10 of swords, but now she's a 10 of wands. Now it feels like carrying on a burden. Now it's like carrying on a baggage. It's like, okay, at first I was hurt and I was able to get over it through one phase. Now it's like a different phase where it's like I'm over it, but it's like that void is still in me. So because of that, it's like she's still unsatisfied or unfulfilled when it comes to the dating life. Maybe she feels as though it wasn't her choice. She's thrust back into the dating world against her will. However, we see here with Joe Jonas at this very moment, he's just trying to remain hopeful and not think about it. They're both weirdly enough still thinking about each other. I did not think I was going to kind of get that vibe, but they're both still thinking about each other, whether it's her thinking about all the negative energy that she could have heaped, because I see the devil crowning her head, or it could have just been all the negative energy that happened in the relationship that broke them up, that she's still dwelling on and thinking about because of this high priestess. But I'll get there. But I see here of Joe Jonas, his are much more lighter, much more I'm feeling it, but I'm still pushing through life. I'm hoping that one day the feelings I'll wake up and the feeling will just go away and I don't think about her, even though we have a custody. We've worked out custody with our two children. So we're still going to have to be involved in each other's lives. But maybe one day I can package this love I had for her and tuck it away. And it seems like maybe she took it a little bit more bitter in that sense, because I see a whole lot more darkness surrounded by her. And that's just the cards. So because of that, and it's just the cards that happens to be weighing her down, actually, she has a whole lot more major arcana cards: the devil, the high priestess, and the moon card. You tell me what's much more heavier than those cards. And then pair that with two tens, the 10 of swords and the 10 of wands. Yeah, sis going through. And we see Joe Jonas over here with the star card. Like, even though he's wishing, he's hoping, he's trying to truck through, he's still looking at his stardom. He's still out there performing Jonas 20. Let's go on tour. Let's get nostalgia. Let's make me feel happy again. Let me fill the void of what I love, even though it's not the kind of love that's going to fulfill this void. It can fulfill it temporarily. I can have the temporary highs, the temporary joys, fans screaming my name, shouting they love me, and I feel fulfilled. I feel the love. And because of that, I don't have to think about my woes, my troubles, what weighs me down, unlike Sophia. Just saying. So what I see down here at the bottom before I go over to Sophia, because I spent quite enough time on her in the beginning, is with Joe Jonas at the bottom. I see exactly parts of him, because this card just happens to be facing the direction that it faces. It's the Knight of Swords. And at its foundation, it's still facing in the direction of Sophia. And I say, my newfound saying is that nights are all about messengers. So even though deep down inside he might still want to like reach out to her, or I mean, they have to co-parent, but I'm talking about like reach out to her in that loving sense of saying, I'm not sure what broke them up. I'm hearing mixed rumors. I heard Joe Jonas was a cheater, so I don't know what is going on. It's he say, she say, why they, he they. So I'm not quite sure who is in the fault here. But because Jonas filed on Turner, I assume for some reason Turner wasn't fulfilling Jonas. So that's just the way I'm going to look at it. So for whatever reason, she was the problem. That's just what I'm going to take. And also because the devil card just happens to find its way to her. So don't blame me, blame the cards. So because of that, I see that he still feels, like I said, the Three of Swords. It's hard to go overcome that Three of Swords. He's still wishing to get over that Three of Swords, that heartache, that and like it could be good when it's good. You know, they could be like, now that they're separated and now that they are divorced and now they're co-parenting, he could feel like that love, joy, be like, see, this is what it used to be like when we were good. We could work together, get along, you know, that nostalgia feeling that when you start thinking, you're just like, oh, but you can't. But all at the same time, I'm still get to Sophia. Hold on. All at the same time, I see right above him, he's looking at the Ten of Pentacles. It's that legacy. It was that dream. Like I said, he didn't want to let that go. He's still thinking about it, holding on to it, still hurt about it. Sophia is trying to move on from it, but he's like trying to, instead of like drinking his problems away, he's musicking his problems away. He's going on tour. He's hanging out with his bros, even though I thought there was like some sort of fallout with the Jonas Brothers for quite a minute there, but it seems like they've gotten all back together. Could have been because he was going through a whole divorce thing. And actually, haven't they been on tour? Wasn't this going on around their tour, right? When they was getting ready to start the tour? So, you know, it was all of that going on, right? Maybe he did that right when the tour was getting ready to get started, so that way he was like, I got something, I don't have to think about this while I'm on tour. If you cheating, you know, I don't care. All that. So it seems like he put a little bit more thought and effort into how, when, and where he was going to do this divorce. It seems like he had a little bit more thought out. That's why I feel like he still has the sense of, if I could go back and we could mend this all, I would want to, but I know it's not healthy or fulfilling for me and where we were going. So over here looking at Sophia before I head to their futures, like I said, Sophia has all this weighing down with her. The Ten of Swords, the Ten of Wands. Not great energies. However, what is surrounding her at this moment while looking at her foundation is the High Priestess. She is in seeking mode. Maybe it seems like one relationship after another is not working. Maybe she needs to do a little bit of searching within herself to figure out why these relationships aren't working. She could really truly want the family unit, want to have it all, like they say, the significant other, the children, the dog, the white picket fence, all that. You wanted that, you know. She could have wanted all of that, but all at the same time, it didn't go out that way. It didn't go out in that way for her, and because of that, and then she could have tried again. She could have even went on a dating website. You know, she didn't give herself too much time to get over her divorce, which also makes me question and wonder, was she, you know, sneaking around in the marriage? Because I'm just like, how could you, you know, people cope differently. I'm not here to judge. This is just the way she chose to do it, and it seemed to not work out in her favor because she is still burdened down and weighed down by it. And that all could be where she needed to lead herself to, so that way she could process the hurt and the pain that this marriage has caused her, to figure out what didn't it work, why wasn't I the good wife, or why wasn't I the perfect wife, or what could I have done better as me, as an individual person, or what were the things that maybe I didn't like in him that made the relationship not work. So you really start thinking, you know, there comes a point where you really have to stop and analyze and think, whether it's one bad breakup or it's three bad breakups. You got to take some time to really do some self-reflection. But also I see here all at the same time is the devil. Now, how can you have the devil and the high priestess right there? Like, the high priestess is all about not lying, and the devil is all about lying. So either she's lying to herself and she's in denial, and maybe she knows the truth, but she just doesn't want to accept the truth. And so because of that, that's what keeps her in this perpetual cycle of the tens. So, if you don't address a thing, you can't fix a thing. And if you just try to move on from a thing, if you try to level up, yeah, I've learned this quite literally. If you try to skip one thing, if you don't get everything on level one and you think you could skip just one thing and go to that next level, you might meet that one thing that you skipped in that level or the next level above. So then you got to go back and trace your steps. So there's no way to cheat life here. So that's what I see what's going on here with Sophia. There is something that she is not quite addressing that is holding her back from healing in this moment. And that could just be the fact that she didn't give herself enough time to process the relationship, or she just doesn't feel as though it's those things, narcissistic in a way. I wasn't the problem. He broke up with me. I was happy. I thought we was all good. He sprung it on me. He's the problem. That's how she could be feeling. That denial, that twisted game that you play, those devilish mind games that you play to try to figure out of not giving yourself the accountability, which is all about what the high priestess is about. And moving forward, I see with her is the moon card, which is still cycles and phases. So this could be a phase. She could move on from this. It's not always going to be dark and gloomy. She's at some point in time, the weighing down of the divorce is going to surpass her. And she will get out of the 10 of, there's only 2 more 10 she can go before she just run out of places, before she just needs to move on. But the other 10s look pretty good, like the 10 of Pentacles and the 10 of Cups. So she got the bad ones out already. She got the 10 of Swords and the 10 of Wands. You can really only go up from here. So the Dark Night of the Moon or the Dark Night of the Soul is just is starting from ground zero and moving up from here. So she can only go up from here. So that's her positive outlook on here. No matter how much she doesn't want to address something or think about something at this moment, it could be that tussle and that tug of war that's got her pulling in between. And until that phase passes, she's just going to be in that. And that's what I see for her. But I do see that this is all temporary. No matter how she's feeling about this divorce, feelings always move on. That's just life, like the moon says. Maybe you should be able to move on emotionally. Maybe those emotions will feel less because the moon follows after the high priestess, and the high priestess rules over the moon. She's going to have a bit more sense of control of her emotions, or understanding of her emotions, or her nature. Literally her nature. She has a little bit more understanding of her nature and behavior and how she moves in relationships. Like they say, relationships are about mirrors. And because of that, maybe she needed to learn something. And Joe Jonas in this relationship was just exactly that she needed to learn a lesson. And I'm sorry, the parties got hurt in the situation, but it's soulish. They both signed on for this. That's all I got. They both signed on for this experience to happen for each of them. They both need to get something out of it. That's what I come to it down at this point. When it gets this sticky and this deep and this heavy and this intricate, I'm just like, you know what? This is just something that she needed to happen. And Joe Jonas, I'm sorry that you was collateral damage, but that's just what I see here. And she's just going to get through this. And because she has so much more major arcana cards than Joe Jonas, it just seems like this was way more heavier on her than it was Joe Jonas, but he still feels it, but he's not allowing himself to sink in that energy as much as she is. He's still keeping himself alive, active, and busy. She could be too, but the things that she's prioritizing and focusing on is not being productive towards her healing process. And that's exactly why she is in this perpetual cycle, which is all about the moons. But eventually a cycle ends and you have to move on and move forward. So that's what I have to say about her. Now back to Joe Jonas. What I see here in the future, though, for Joe Jonas is, like I said, he's focusing right now on his tour, focusing on the bros, focusing on nostalgia, thinking about her every now and then, thinking about the family unit and how good it was, and maybe thinking about what's going to come when the tour's over and I have to get back to my reality and I'm back down on my high. But until then, we have the Five of Wands, and the Five of Wands is just his energy is everywhere, which 9 times out of 10 is a bad thing. But for this moment, in this case, it is a good thing because he is so busy. As I said in the very beginning of this, he is so busy and so preoccupied that he doesn't have time to really think about Sophia. If she pops up in his mind, he's like, oh, maybe I should text her. Maybe I should send a lovey-dovey message. Maybe her birthday passed. Maybe it was an anniversary. All those things, it could have been a quick sweeping thought, but hey, his brothers are there. It's like, hey, stop thinking about it. Let's go do this. Let's go out. Let's go drink. Go do something. So it's like once the thought comes over him, it's as quickly as it gets off of him because he just doesn't have the time and energy to really dedicate to that, unlike Sophia. So because of that, 2 drastically different readings. Both have their pros and cons, addressing and not addressing, finding ways to distract yourself, trying to find ways to be in denial. Both of them, quickly jump into a relationship, crowd yourself in work. There's different ways people cope with hurt and heartache, each to their own. They both have their pros and cons. And we see that both of them are moving on. But we see them both moving on. That's all I got. So, and this is just a perfect example of just showing you just how people grieve differently. So with that, I'm just going to pull 3 cards to symbolize just the overall energy between Sophia and Joe Jonas, even though they are divorced and she is apparently dating. But let's just see what the energy is between them because they are still linked together due to having children. Although I did hear Sophia wants to move to the UK and never come back to the US. And I'm not sure if that's going to work when you have 2 children together. Because was that another thing that broke you guys up? So because of that, that could be another thing that weighs her down too, now that I think about it. Because I did read in an article how it did say that she really misses the UK. I guess that's where she's from and she misses her friends and family. But how long have you been living in the US that you haven't made friends and family? I'm just asking. I know people get homesick, but that's the same thing that broke up Kim Kardashian and Kanye West. Let them tell it, though. That's what I think broke them up, is the fact that Kim was just like, I'm not moving away from my family in Calabasas to go to Wyoming. No. I have no friends. I know nobody out there. Who's out there in Wyoming? That's how Kim felt. And I think that's how Sophia started feeling, is what is here for me in the US? Everything that I love. Okay. Everything that I love is in the UK. Okay. I don't know about your family, but okay. So, okay. I'm just saying. Each to their own. I can't be mad. Your home is where the heart is. And home was apparently the UK and not where Joe Jonas and she resided. So that's all I got. 3 cards for their relationship altogether. Well, we have a black mouse, deterioration of health. Oh, Jesus. We have a shadow, delusions and struggles and darkness. Oh, my. And the bedroom. And they honestly fell in perfect spots. To have the black mouse over here, not even that was on purpose. It was just supposed to be overall energy, but I'm still going to say this black mouse symbolizes Sophia just because it matches so well with her energy, talking about a deterioration of health, not literally, mental health, just deterioration of her mental health, just so focused on this, or deterioration of her emotional health. There's things that can weigh down on you emotionally that eventually is going to not cause any true health problems. Okay. I mean, true, technically, yes, but that's not what I'm here for. But just saying that health she's just not good she's just not in a good mental or emotional state right now. And that's what I'm seeing right here with this Black Mouse. And same thing with Joe Jonas. But also, another thing that I see here with shadows, which happens to be in the middle of overlapping them, it's quite murky. There's some delusions. Maybe somebody's not being quite honest or truthful. There's still some struggle with communication, and maybe that's what makes him second guess on if he should quickly message her when he gets those feelings, because then he starts thinking about Sophia and how she's going to react and stuff like that. I don't know. Then we see here, which was kind of fitting to have on Joe Jonas' side, but still represents both of them, is the bedroom, which is all about intimacy, which is all about things that you feel emotionally. You know how intimacy makes you feel? It's that love, it's that comfort, what makes you feel cozy. And that's what they used to once have. And that's what something that Joe Jonas could reminisce on with Sophia. And maybe she could reminisce that on with him too. I don't know. But what I see here is that no matter what the intimacy is, or no matter how much or how good it was, there is just too much negativity or the cons to outweigh the pros. So it just seems like a divorce was in need, but they both still are trying to move forward on from it. And it's quite hard, especially when you have a child mixed involved in it too, two children at that. So because of that, they still have a whole lot to work out, and still going to have to be involved with each other for the rest of their lives. So until then, they're counting their breaths until they can figure out how to get over these feelings. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this reading on Sophia Turner and Joe Jonas. I sure did.